I never thought a birthday dinner could break me. That night, my mother's dining room sparkled like a magazine cover. Crystal glasses, silver plates, and those fake smiles my family wore so well. I sat there trying to look calm, even though my heart was racing. My daughter Ivy sat beside me, swinging her feet under the table, humming softly to herself. She didn't know yet. Then my brother tapped his glass and said, "Let's look back at all our memories." The lights dimmed. The slideshow began. Photo after photo filled the wall. Family vacations, Christmas mornings, birthdays, weddings, every moment of our lives. Frozen in time. But Ivy wasn't in any of them, not one. At first, I thought maybe they'd just picked the wrong pictures. But then I saw it. A photo from my mother's garden party, the day Ivy spilled lemonade on her dress. I remembered it so clearly, her little giggle, the sunlight on her hair. But in the photo on the screen, there was no Ivy. The space beside me was filled with a perfect patch of green grass, edited, clean, erased. My throat tightened. I felt dizzy. My fingers gripped the edge of the table. I whispered, "Where's Ivy?" My mother smiled, still watching the slideshow. "Oh, isn't that one lovely? Everyone looks perfect. Everyone. Except my daughter." Ivy tugged my sleeve and whispered, "Mommy, where am I?" Her voice cracked something inside me. I forced a smile and said, "Maybe they just forgot some pictures, honey." But inside I knew. My parents had done this on purpose. The show went on, vacation photos, weddings, holidays, all missing one thing. My child, my baby. The room clapped when it ended. My mother stood up, proud, like she'd just hosted an award show. I couldn't clap. I couldn't breathe. I leaned over and whispered to her, "Did you take her out of those photos?" Her smile froze. Then she said quietly, "Let's not ruin the evening, Claire." "Ruin the evening?" I said louder. "You erased my daughter." Everyone went silent. My brother's wife looked down. My father folded his arms. My mother's voice was sharp like ice. "You're overreacting." Ivy looked up at me, confused, scared. I took her hand and stood. "We're leaving," but my father spoke before I could move. "Sit down, Claire." His tone was calm but cold. That kind of cold that burns. I turned to him, my voice shaking. "Why would you do that?" "She's your granddaughter." He looked me straight in the eye. "You did this to yourself when you chose that child." That child. Not Ivy, not granddaughter, just that child. I felt my heart drop, like the floor had vanished under me. For a second, no one said anything. The chandelier lights flickered on again. My mother's perfume filled the air, sickly sweet. I wanted to scream. Ivy's small hand squeezed mine. "Mommy, can we go home now?" And I realized this wasn't home. It never was. I didn't even say goodbye. I just walked out, holding my daughter's hand, my heels clicking against the marble floor. Behind me, I could hear whispers, pity, judgment, maybe even relief that I was leaving. In the car, Ivy looked out the window, quiet. Then she said, "Maybe Grandma didn't like how I looked in the pictures." Her words hit me harder than any slap could. I pulled over and took her face in my hands. "No, sweetheart. You are the most beautiful thing in every picture. They just can't see it." She smiled a little, but her eyes looked older than 9. That night, when she went to bed, I sat alone on the couch, scrolling through my phone. I went to my mother's social media page. Every family post was there. The parties, the trips, the celebrations, and in every single one, Ivy was gone. Photoshop had turned my daughter into a ghost. My parents didn't just crop her out of pictures. They cropped her out of our family. I stared at the screen until my eyes blurred. Then I whispered, "Why would you do this to your own blood?" The next morning, I promised myself something. I wouldn't stay quiet. Not this time, because if my parents wanted to erase Ivy, they'd have to erase me too. And that was never going to happen. Before I continue this story, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Like you didn't belong no matter how hard you tried? If you have, you'll understand what comes next. Make sure you subscribe, because what I discovered after that night changed everything. The next morning, the house felt too quiet. Ivy sat at the kitchen table, coloring, her little tongue poking out in focus like it always did. I was pretending to read emails, but my eyes kept drifting to her face. She looked up at me suddenly and said, "Mommy, Why wasn't I in Grandma's pictures? My heart stopped. There it was. The question I'd been dreading. I tried to smile. Oh, maybe Grandma didn't have time to add all of them, sweetheart, but she frowned. I was at that picnic. I remember the lemonade. You laughed when I spilled it. Her voice was soft but so serious. And I realized she remembered everything they tried to erase. I looked at her small hands, covered in marker ink, and my chest ached. I wanted to protect her, but how do you protect a child from being erased by her own family? I forced a laugh. Tell you what, why don't we make our own album today? Just me and you, her face lit up. Really? Really. We spent the afternoon digging through old boxes, my college photos, my wedding pictures, baby photos. Ivy giggled at my old hairstyles and funny faces. For a while it felt good, normal. Then near the bottom of the last box, I found something that made my hands shake. A small envelope labeled Family Originals. I opened it. Inside were printed photos, unedited ones. I froze. There was me holding baby Ivy in the hospital. My mom was beside me, smiling stiffly. But I remembered. On her Facebook, that same photo showed only her and me. No baby. I felt sick. I pulled out more pictures. Birthday parties. Beach trips. Thanksgiving. In every one of them, Ivy was there in real life, but gone online. My parents hadn't just stopped including her. They had removed her, one by one, for years. Every happy memory we had shared had been rewritten. I sat there, staring at those photos spread across the floor like broken pieces of truth. Ivy leaned over my shoulder. "Mommy, that's me," she said, pointing to one of the prints. "That's when I was 3. I smiled weakly. "Yes, baby. That's you," she tilted her head. "Why does Grandma's picture of this look different?" I hesitated. The lie burned my tongue. "Maybe her computer made a mistake," she laughed. "Computers make a lot of mistakes, huh?" I nodded, but my throat hurt too much to answer. Later that evening, I walked into my room, holding those photos like evidence from a crime scene. I sat on the bed and thought about my parents. They'd always cared more about appearances than love. They hosted fundraisers, charity dinners, award galas. They talked about family legacy. But what kind of legacy deletes a child for not fitting the image? I opened my laptop and went through years of posts. I zoomed in on one picture from my brother's wedding, me standing beside the cake, Ivy's hand gripping my dress, except online. That little hand was gone. Just a smooth patch of fabric where she should have been. I scrolled faster, my breathing uneven. They'd erased her from everything. It wasn't just about photos. It was a message that my daughter didn't belong. When Ivy went to bed, I sat in her room for a while, watching her sleep. She looked peaceful, unaware of how cruel the world could be. I brushed her hair back and whispered, "You belong more than anyone." I didn't sleep that night. The next day, Ivy came home from school holding a colorful paper in her hands. "Look, Mommy, we had to draw our family tree." I smiled, but my stomach twisted when I saw it. There were stick figures of me, Ivy, my parents, my brother, and his wife. She'd drawn lines connecting us all. But next to my parents' names, she had written something small in pencil. Unknown. I blinked hard. "Honey, why did you write that?" She shrugged. "I asked Grandma and Grandpa for pictures of when they were young. They said they didn't have any with me. So maybe they forgot me. Forgot her." The word cut like glass. I kneeled down in front of her. "Listen to me, sweetheart. They didn't forget you. Some people just don't understand what love really looks like." She studied my face for a moment, then nodded slowly. "But you remember me, right?" I smiled through tears. "Always." That night, I made a new album. Every page filled with us, laughing, playing, living. Real smiles. Real memories. I titled it The Family That's Real. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over, because people who erase others never stop until someone makes them. I looked at those unedited prints again, the truth my parents had tried to bury. And I realized, if they could erase Ivy so easily, what else had they erased? There was only one way to find out, so I decided to dig deeper into the past, the money, and the secrets hidden behind every perfect photo. And what I found next made me question everything I thought I knew about my family. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but when someone changes the picture, those words become lies. After Ivy's family tree moment, I couldn't stop thinking, If my parents could erase her from photos, what else had they erased? What else had they quietly rewritten behind my back? I knew the answers weren't in photo albums. They were in memories, in whispers, in the things we never said out loud. So I started digging. I called my cousin Rachel. She'd always been the one who told the truth, even when it wasn't pretty. "Do you remember Ivy's first birthday?" I asked. She hesitated. "Of course. That was at your parents' lake house, right?" "Yes, but do you remember who took the photos?" She went quiet. Then she said, "Your mom made me delete most of them. Said Ivy had messed up the aesthetic." That word again. Aesthetic. I thanked her and hung up. My hands were shaking. That wasn't just about looks. That was about shame. I started putting it all together. Moments I had brushed off or tried to forget, like the time my mother bought family Christmas sweaters, but didn't get one in Ivy's size. "Oh, I must have forgotten," she said. "Or how Ivy's name was never included in my dad's New Year's toast. To our beautiful family," he'd say. To our legacy, but never to Ivy. And that word, legacy, it haunted me. One night, I sat with the old photo envelope again, this time really studying them. On the back of one, I noticed tiny faded handwriting. It said, "Originals, not for display, not for display," like Ivy was a stain, an error, something to be kept in a drawer. That same night, I remembered something strange. Years ago, after I gave birth, my dad visited me alone in the hospital. Ivy was only 2 days old. He brought flowers and a silver bracelet. I thought it was sweet. But now I remembered something I hadn't thought about in years. He'd looked at Ivy and her bassinet, sighed and said, "You could still fix this." Claire, at the time I didn't understand. I thought he meant my relationship with Ivy's father. But now, I realized what he really meant. He didn't want her. He never did. My heart was pounding as I opened my emails and searched for something. Anything that could prove what I was now feeling deep in my bones. I typed in Ivy, hundreds of results came up. But one stood out. It was from a family assistant who used to work for my parents years ago. A short message buried in my inbox. "Hey Claire, I felt weird editing that birthday video. Ivy's such a sweet kid. I hope she doesn't notice she's missing from it. Let me know if you need the original file. Kept a copy just in case." I opened it. There it was. Ivy blowing out candles at her 3rd birthday, cake on her nose, clapping while everyone sang. But I remembered the version my parents had sent to the family group chat back then. No Ivy, just me and my parents, smiling beside a perfect untouched cake. They didn't just erase her from photos, they edited her out of videos. My stomach turned. I called the assistant's number, not expecting it to work, but she picked up. Her name was Jamie. She was quiet at first, nervous. But when I told her what I had found, her voice changed. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't know what to do back then. Your mom told me Ivy wasn't a media fit for the family brand. She said not to include her in anything we posted. Media fit, like my daughter was an ad campaign." Jamie paused, then said, "Claire, there's something else. What?" I asked. She made me remove Ivy's name from the family trust files too. Said she was never meant to be included. I thought you agreed to that. My knees buckled. I sat down on the floor. "What do you mean? Ivy was never in the trust?" "No, your parents said it was final. I still have the folder if you want it." My voice cracked. "Please send it." 5 minutes later, it hit my inbox. A document dated 8 years ago. A list of grandchildren and trust allocations. My brother's kids were listed with future distributions. Ivy's name was missing. She was never even counted as family. I felt like I was falling through a trap door. All these years, I had convinced myself it was just awkwardness, or distance, or pride. But no, this was planned. They never accepted her. Not because she wasn't kind, not because she wasn't smart, but because she didn't fit their picture. Her curls, her brown skin, her bright, loud laugh. To them, she didn't look like legacy. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat beside Ivy's bed again, watching her chest rise and fall. I whispered, "I'm so sorry. I should have seen this sooner." I thought about all the times I let my parents babysit her. The holidays we spent in that cold house. The way Ivy always looked unsure around them, she felt it, even if she never said it. The next morning, I packed up the photos, the email, the trust papers, all of it. I was going to confront them. I didn't care if they yelled. I didn't care if they denied it. They had erased my child from their world. Now I was going to show them exactly what it felt like to be erased. But I didn't expect what happened when I brought Ivy with me to their house, because nothing could have prepared me for how they would treat her. The invitation came 2 days later. An email, subject line, family dinner, formal attire requested. It was my mother's way of pretending everything was fine. Neat, polished, and cold. I almost deleted it. But then I thought, no, we were going. Not because I wanted to play nice, but because it was time to stop hiding. This time, they were going to look Ivy in the eyes. We arrived a few minutes late on purpose. Just enough to make an entrance. Ivy wore her favorite yellow dress, the one with the sunflower buttons. She held my hand tight. The moment we stepped into that house, I felt the chill. My mother stood by the fireplace holding a glass of white wine. She gave me a smile so fake it nearly cracked her face. "Well," she said, "you made it." I smiled right back. "Wouldn't miss it." Ivy looked around, quiet. No one said hello to her. Not my brother. Not his wife. Not my dad. They all just looked past her like she was air. I bent down. "Want to sit next to me at dinner?" I whispered. She nodded, her fingers still gripping mine. At the table, there were name cards at every seat. I found mine. Then I looked for Ivy's. There wasn't one. I stared at the table for a long moment. Then I picked up my card and moved it. "Ivy and I will sit together," I said loudly. No one argued. But the silence was sharp enough to cut. Dinner was stiff. Forks clinked. Glasses clinked. Smiles froze. My father started talking about stock prices. My mother laughed a little too hard at someone's boring story, and Ivy just sat there, silent, pushing peas around her plate. Then it happened. Dessert was served. Lemon tart. Ivy's favorite. She looked up, hopeful. "Grandma, did you make this?" My mother didn't even turn her head. She spoke to the table, not to Ivy. "We try not to encourage too many sweets for the children." Ivy blinked. "But I'm 9. Still nothing." I looked at her. Her eyes filled with confusion, and something inside me snapped. I stood up. "Why are you ignoring her?" My father cleared his throat. "Claire, sit down." "No," I said. "Not this time." I turned to my mother. "You erased her from every photo, every video, every memory. And now you won't even look at her." She set down her fork, calm as ever. "This isn't the time, Claire. When is the time?" I asked. My voice shook, but I didn't stop. "When she's old enough to realize her own grandparents hated her? Or when she stops asking why they never call?" My brother muttered, "Here we go again." I spun around. "Don't again me. You've sat through years of this and said nothing." Ivy tugged at my arm. "Mommy." She looked scared. I knelt down beside her chair. "It's okay, baby. I just need to say something important." I turned back to them all. "She is your family. She is kind, smart, funny, and so full of love. And you've treated her like she's invisible." My father finally spoke. "She's not what this family was built on." His words were slow, deliberate, cruel. Ivy whispered, "What does that mean?" I looked up at him. "Say it. Go ahead. Say what you really mean." He looked straight at me and said, "You chose to have a child out of wedlock. You chose a man who doesn't represent our values. And you chose her. You knew there'd be consequences." I stood, shaking. "She's a child. She didn't choose anything. You did. You chose to erase her." Ivy was crying now. Her tiny hands wiped at her cheeks as she looked around the room. "I don't understand," she sobbed. "What did I do wrong?" I grabbed her hand. "Nothing, baby. You did nothing wrong." I turned to my parents. "We're done. We're never coming back here." But as I turned to leave, my father stood. "Wait," he said. "You walk out that door, Claire. You walk out of this family." I stared at him. "That's the thing, Dad," I said. "You already made that choice when you deleted my daughter." Ivy and I walked out together. The front door closed behind us with a hard click. In the car, Ivy was quiet again. "Mommy?" she said after a while. "Yes, honey?" "I don't want to go back there ever again." "You won't have to." She looked out the window. Then said, "Do you think Grandpa ever loved me?" I didn't know how to answer that, so I told her the truth. "I don't know. But I do know that love isn't something you hide. And you deserve to be seen." She nodded slowly. Then whispered, "I just wanted them to like me." My heart shattered. When we got home, she went straight to her room. I heard her quietly unpacking her little purse, the bracelet, a paper napkin she had drawn on during dinner, and her name card, the one she never got. I sat in the dark for a long time. Then I picked up the phone. Not to call my parents, but someone else, someone I hadn't spoken to in a long time, because Ivy deserved better than all of this, and maybe the answers started with the person who disappeared long before she was born. I didn't think he'd answer. It had been almost 10 years. But after everything Ivy had been through, I had to try. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in my hand, heart racing. I stared at the contact name, Malik, Ivy's dad. I took a deep breath and called. 1 ring, 2, 3, then, hello? His voice, it sounded deeper, slower, tired. It's Claire, I said, my voice shaking. A pause. Claire. He said softly, wow, I didn't think I'd ever hear from you again. I didn't either, I whispered. But this isn't about us. It's about Ivy. Another pause. Then is she okay? I almost broke down right there. No, not really. I told him everything. About the birthday dinner. The slideshow. The edited photos. The missing seat at the table. And the way Ivy looked at me afterward and asked, do you think Grandpa ever loved me? Malik didn't say a word for a while, then he said, where are you right now? Home. I'm nearby. Can I come over? My fingers gripped the phone tight. Yes. 20 minutes later, he was standing at my door. Same eyes. Same quiet energy. But different too. Like life had knocked him around a little. I opened the door. We just looked at each other. Then he said, I want to see her. I nodded. She's in her room. I knocked gently. Ivy? She opened the door, holding her stuffed giraffe. Her eyes widened when she saw him. I knelt beside her. Honey, this is Malik. He's your dad. She looked at him, confused. Really? Malik knelt too. Hi, Ivy. I've missed a lot. But I'm here now. If you'll let me be. She didn't say anything at first. Then she slowly walked up and touched his beard. You look different than in the picture. He laughed quietly. I know, but I promise I'm still me. She gave a tiny smile. Then went back to her room. We sat in the kitchen. The silence was heavy. I'm sorry, he said. For everything, I nodded. I know. Then I asked the question I had buried for years. Why did you leave? He looked down at his hands. Then he said something I never expected. Your father paid me to. I froze. What? He nodded slowly. Back when you told him I wasn't going to law school, that I wanted to be an artist, he flipped. Said I wasn't good enough for you. Said I'd ruin your life. I stared at him, numb. I didn't believe him at first, Malik continued. But then he offered me money. Said if I disappeared and never came back, you'd have a better future. No fighting, no court, no mess. And you just took it? I asked. I thought I was protecting you, he said quietly. I thought your life would be easier without me in it. I stood up, angry. You let him buy your silence. You let him decide what Ivy's life would be. I know, he said. And I regret it every day. I paced the room, the memories flooding back. The lonely nights. The tears. The questions I never had answers to, and now, finally, here it was. The truth. You didn't just walk away, I said. You were pushed. He looked at me, pain in his eyes. I never stopped thinking about her. I just didn't think I had a right to come back. I wiped my eyes. You do now, but only if you show up for her. Every single time. I will. We sat in silence again. Then he asked, why now? Why call me after all these years? I walked over to the drawer and pulled out the photos, the ones with Ivy in them, and the edited versions without her. I laid them on the table. Because they didn't just delete you. Malik, they're trying to delete her too. He stared at the pictures. His face hardened. This is evil, he said. It's calculated, I replied. They never saw her as part of them. And they've made sure she knows it. He looked up at me. So what now? I fight back, I said. With proof. With everything they tried to hide. He nodded. I'm with you. I took a deep breath. There's one more thing. I pulled out the email Jamie had sent me. The one with the trust document showing Ivy was never included. Malik read it. His jaw clenched. They cut her out of the family money too? I nodded. She was never even listed. They decided the moment she was born that she didn't count. Malik shook his head. No more. She will count. That night, Ivy came into the living room, sleepy-eyed. She climbed onto the couch between us. Daddy? She said softly. He turned, startled. Yes? Can I show you my drawings tomorrow? He smiled, eyes misty. I'd love that. She leaned on his arm and fell asleep. And for the first time in years, my heart felt a little lighter, but I knew it wouldn't stay that way, because my parents were about to do something worse than editing photos. They were about to try and erase me, too. I always thought Malik had left because he didn't want the responsibility. That's what I told myself over and over when I was rocking Ivy to sleep, when I had no one to call at 2 a.m., when my parents gave me that look like I'd ruined my life. But now, I knew the truth. He didn't walk away. He was pushed, and the people who pushed him were the same ones who smiled in family photos, then deleted my daughter from them. It made my skin crawl. That night, after Ivy went to bed, Malik and I sat in the living room, surrounded by old documents and photos, and for the first time, we talked. Really talked. I thought about calling you 100 times, he said, staring at the floor. But I kept hearing your dad's voice. That warning, I looked at him. What exactly did he say? Malik sighed. He took me to some fancy hotel downtown. Said he wanted to talk man to man. I was confused, thought maybe he was trying to come around. But he wasn't, I said. Malik shook his head. He sat across from me, ordered a drink, and said, You're not part of this world, Malik. You'll only drag her down. My chest tightened. I could almost hear my father saying it. He offered me $50,000, Malik said. Said it was enough to disappear and stay gone. No contact, no calls. Not even letters, and you took it? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I was 23, he said. Scared, jobless. I thought I was doing you a favor. I told myself if I stepped away, your family would take care of you. That Ivy would have stability. I covered my mouth with my hand. My whole body was shaking. They didn't take care of her, I said. They rejected her. From the beginning, Malik looked sick. I should have come back. I should have fought him. I didn't think I was strong enough. We sat in silence. Then I asked, Do you still have the letter? He blinked. What letter? The payment agreement. Anything that proves he paid you to leave. He thought for a second. I didn't sign anything official, but I still have the envelope he handed me. It had my name on it, his initials, and a note inside. I sat up straight. Can you find it? He nodded slowly. It might be in my old storage unit. I'll check tomorrow. That envelope could be the proof I needed, because my parents weren't just cold. They were calculated. They paid him off. Cut Ivy out of the trust. Then pretended none of it ever happened. It was more than rejection. It was erasure. The next morning, Malik went to find the envelope. I stayed home with Ivy. She drew pictures at the kitchen table. One of me, one of Malik, and one of all three of us holding hands. I smiled. That's beautiful, sweetheart, she beamed. It's our new family. My heart swelled and broke at the same time. While she colored in the sun, I opened my laptop. I had one last thread to pull. Jamie, the old assistant, had mentioned something about family values being part of the trust language. I searched the trust documents again. And then I saw it, a clause I hadn't noticed before. Trust allocations may be amended in the event of misalignment with core family image and legacy. It was vague, but dangerous. They built the whole thing to be able to cut out anyone who didn't fit. I sat back, stunned. Then my phone buzzed. Malik. I found it, he said. He sounded breathless. I'm holding the envelope right now. It still has the hotel stationery inside with your dad's handwriting. It says final payment enclosed. No future contact. Her future depends on your silence. I nearly dropped the phone. That's it, I whispered. That's the proof, he paused. Claire, what are you going to do? I looked at the drawings Ivy had taped to the wall. I'm going to fight. I'm done letting them control the story, he nodded. Then I'm with you. Later that evening, while Ivy was brushing her teeth, I got a notification on my phone, an alert from a lawyer's office. I clicked it open. Subject: official notice of defamation suit filed by my parents. They were suing me for spreading false narratives online that damaged the family's reputation. I stared at the screen. Cold rushing through my body, false narratives? They were calling the truth a lie. They weren't just trying to erase Ivy. They were trying to silence me. I walked to the bathroom doorway. Ivy was humming, spitting toothpaste into the sink. I whispered, "Ivy." She turned, her face glowing. "Yeah, Mommy," I smiled. "Everything's going to be okay." Because in that moment, I made up my mind. If they wanted a fight, they were getting one. They erased my child. They paid off her father. They rewrote the past. But now, I had the one thing they didn't expect, the truth, and I was about to go public. The lawsuit hit me like a slap I never saw coming. My parents were suing me for telling the truth, for saying out loud what they had been hiding for years, but I wasn't scared. Not this time. I had proof, real proof. That envelope Malik found, the one with my father's handwriting and hush money, I scanned it front and back. I even had voice messages, screenshots, emails. It wasn't just my word anymore. It was facts, and facts don't lie. I sat down at my laptop and opened a new post. This time, I wasn't whispering in the dark. I wrote, "My parents erased my daughter from our family's photos, memories, and even our future. They paid her father to disappear. They left her out of our family trust. And now they're suing me for telling the truth." I attached the documents. The envelope, the note, the edited photos, side by side with the originals. Then I hit post. I closed my eyes and whispered, "Let's see if the world still believes in truth." Within hours, my phone was blowing up. Friends old, classmates, strangers, messages poured in. I believe you. Your daughter is beautiful. This broke my heart. They tried to make her invisible, but you made her seen. By the next morning, the post had over 3 million views. People weren't just reacting. They were furious, and not just for me, for every child who had ever felt unwanted. For every mother who'd ever been told to stay quiet, a woman named Carla messaged me. She said she used to work for the law firm that managed my family's trust. She wrote, "Your father made edits to the trust years ago. Behind your back. He made it so Ivy could never inherit anything. If you want help, I'll connect you to someone." I stared at that message, heart racing. I called her. She answered on the first ring. Within minutes, she connected me with a lawyer named Daniel. Young, sharp, and best of all, fearless. He reviewed everything. "This isn't just unethical," he said. "It's illegal. You have a case?" "A real one," he leaned forward. "You ready to fight?" I nodded. "I've been ready." The next day, I filed a countersuit, not just to defend myself, but to challenge the trust, to rewrite the family story for Ivy. Daniel helped me file a legal challenge to the trust amendments. He argued that the edits were made with prejudice, with the clear goal of excluding a child based on her background, and we had proof. But this fight wasn't just happening in court, it was happening online too. Ivy's story had gone viral. People were posting their own stories, photos they'd been left out of, grandparents who never showed up, families who chose image over love. A hashtag started trending. And she was there. And someone even made a side-by-side image of Ivy. One photo with her cut out, one with her laughing in full view. The caption read, "They didn't want her in the picture. But now she's the whole story." I cried when I saw it, not because of the pain, but because people saw her, really saw her. Then, one night, Ivy came into the living room holding a piece of paper from school. "Mommy," she said shyly, "we have a speech contest. The theme is what makes a family. Can I enter?" I knelt beside her. "Of course, baby. Can I talk about this?" "About us?" My heart swelled. "You can talk about whatever's in your heart," she smiled. "Then I want to tell them the truth. That family isn't about who claps the loudest or who takes the nicest photos. It's about who never lets you feel small." She wrote her speech in pink marker. And when she read it at school, people stood and clapped before she even finished. Later that night, we got a message from a journalist. She wanted to interview Ivy and me. A documentary team was already interested in the story. I asked Ivy, "Do you want to do this?" "You don't have to," she nodded slowly. "Yes, because I want people to know I was here." So we did the interview. We sat together on the couch, holding hands, telling our story. Not the clean version, the real one. The interviewer asked Ivy, "What do you want to say to your grandparents if they're watching?" Ivy looked straight at the camera and said, "I don't need to be in your pictures. I'm in my mom's heart. And that's forever." My tears wouldn't stop. A few days later, my parents' charity foundation started losing sponsors. People were pulling donations, calling them out. And then something wild happened. Other family members, ones I hadn't spoken to in years, started reaching out. An aunt, a cousin, even one of my dad's older brothers. They all said the same thing. We had no idea. And we're sorry, but there was one message that made my jaw drop. A woman named Elisa. She said she was the daughter of one of my father's former business partners, and she had something to tell me. Something about the trust, something about another person who had been erased. I think this goes deeper than just your daughter, she said. And what she told me next made my blood run cold. I thought I knew how far my parents would go to protect their image. I was wrong. The message from Elisa didn't just open a door. It blew the whole house down. She told me that years ago. Her father was close with mine. Business partners. Family friends, until her father's son, Elisa's brother, got in trouble. He struggled with addiction. Made some mistakes. My father cut all ties. Fast. He said our family was no longer on brand, Elisa wrote. He didn't just walk away. He made sure we were erased from every part of their social circle. Photos, donations, event invites. We were ghosts overnight. I sat there in shock. This wasn't just about me. Or Ivy. My parents had a pattern. Erase anything messy. Hide anything imperfect. Protect the family image at all costs, even if it meant erasing real people. Real lives. I asked Elisa for more details. She sent me emails, old ones from event organizers and assistants. In one, my father wrote, "We are adjusting the guest list. Please remove any family associated with recent scandal. The Holloway brand must remain clean." The Holloway brand. Like we were a company. A product, not a family. The worst part? That same year, I remembered something. Ivy had been sick. Really sick. A bad case of pneumonia. She was only 4. I called my parents crying, asking for help. They said they were at a fundraiser and couldn't risk bringing germs home. I thought maybe it was just bad timing, but now I saw it clearly. They didn't want to be seen caring for a sick child, not one who didn't fit their photo-perfect world. I was done staying quiet, so I did something I'd never done before. I went live. I sat in front of my phone, hit record, and spoke from my heart. My name is Claire Holloway. My daughter's name is Ivy. She's 9 years old. And for years, she has been quietly erased by her own grandparents. Cut out of photos. Left out of family events. Removed from the family trust. But it's not just us. This is bigger. This is about families who choose image over love. Who rewrite history to protect a lie. Who would rather be admired by strangers than accepted by their own blood. My voice shook, but I kept going. Well, no more. You don't get to erase people and call it protection. You don't get to delete your mistakes and call it legacy, because real family shows up. Especially when things get messy. Especially when life isn't perfect. I ended the video with a photo, one of Ivy smiling, holding her drawing of our little family. Then I said, "This is my daughter. She was always in the picture. You just didn't want to see her." I hit post. By morning, the video had gone everywhere. News outlets picked it up. Talk shows called. Ivy's speech from school was shared again and again, and then the real fallout began. My mother went on a national talk show. Sat there in pearls and a soft pink blazer, acting like nothing was her fault. "I'm heartbroken," she said. "This has all been a big misunderstanding. We love Ivy dearly." The host showed the side-by-side photos. "You cropped her out of every memory," the host said. "Why?" My mother gave a weak smile. "Sometimes photos need adjusting for style." That clip went viral too, but not the way she hoped. People were outraged. Comments flooded in. "This is beyond cruel. Who edits out a child? Your brand is broken, and it should be." Sponsors pulled out of my parents' charity events. Donors walked away. The Holloway name, once spotless, was now tangled with shame. But while the world saw headlines, Ivy was still just a little girl, and all this attention was a lot. She stopped wanting to go to the park. She covered her face when strangers recognized her. One night, I found her sitting in the closet with her stuffed giraffe. "Honey?" I whispered. She looked up, teary-eyed. "Is it bad that people know my name now?" "No, baby," I said, kneeling beside her. "It's brave. You told the truth. And you helped other kids feel seen, too." She nodded slowly, then whispered, I just want to go back to normal. I pulled her close. I promise we're getting there. The next morning, I called Daniel, our lawyer. I want to settle, I said, but not quietly. I want it all in writing. And I want the trust rewritten with Ivy's name on it. He agreed. We met with the family attorneys in a quiet office downtown. My parents didn't show. They sent representatives. Of course. But the look on their lawyer's face said it all. They were losing, and they knew it. By the end of the meeting, Ivy's name was officially added to the trust. She would receive the inheritance, meant for every grandchild. It wasn't about the money, it was about the message. She was no longer invisible. She belonged, and they couldn't delete her ever again. That night, I told Ivy. She looked confused. So I'm in the family now, I smiled. You were always in the family. They just finally had to admit it. She threw her arms around me. But Mommy, she whispered, what if they try something again? I hugged her tight. Then we'll be ready. Because the truth had already changed everything. But just when I thought it was over, I got a letter, hand-delivered, with one sentence on the front. You may have won the internet, but you haven't won this family. And the name at the bottom? My father. The envelope was thick, heavy, like it carried a warning instead of a message. I stared at my father's handwriting on the front, sharp, angry. You may have won the internet, but you haven't won this family. Those were his words. I should have felt scared. Or shaken. But all I felt was tired. Because even after everything, even after the lawsuit, the public shame, the trust being changed, he still saw this as a battle to win, not a family to fix. I opened the letter slowly. Inside was a stack of typed pages. Legal words. Cold sentences. It wasn't just a message. It was a final threat. He was trying to challenge the rewritten trust. Claiming I had manipulated public opinion to alter a legal legacy. Basically, he was saying I bullied him into putting Ivy in the family. My hands trembled, but I read every word. He called Ivy a disruption, a detour, a public relations problem. Not once did he say her name. I slammed the letter down. My chest was burning. Malik was sitting at the kitchen table with Ivy, helping her with homework. He looked up. What is it? I held up the letter. He's not done. He's going after the trust again. He's trying to take Ivy out, again. Malik's jaw clenched. That man. Ivy looked up, confused. Mommy, am I in trouble? My heart cracked. No, baby. Not at all. She walked over and hugged my waist. Then why are you sad? I knelt down. Because some people still don't understand how lucky they are to have you in their life. She hugged me tighter. But you understand, right? I kissed the top of her head. Always. That night I stayed up late, staring at the letter. He didn't scare me anymore, but I realized something. He wasn't just fighting me. He was terrified of being exposed. Because the world had seen through the mask, the clean-cut family man image. It was gone, and now all he had left was control. Or at least, the illusion of it. I opened my laptop and did something I hadn't done in years. I started writing a letter, not to him, to Ivy, to my daughter, so she would never have to wonder what she meant to me. I wrote about the day she was born, how I held her for the first time and thought, this is it. This is what love feels like. I wrote about how she used to fall asleep on my chest, how she said mama before she could even walk. I wrote about her courage, how she stood on a stage and spoke the truth when most adults wouldn't. Told her she was strong, that she was seen, and that no matter what they try to take away, no one can erase her from my heart. The next day, I printed the letter, not for the internet, not for the courts, but for Ivy. I sealed it in an envelope and wrote, "Open this when you feel small." I left it in her drawer, right beside her favorite books, because I knew someday she might need it. Later that afternoon, Daniel called. "We got another letter," he said. I groaned. "From my dad?" "No," he said. "From the judge." I sat up straight. The final court hearing has been scheduled. They want both parties present. A chill ran through me. This was it. The final showdown. "I'll be there," I said. I hung up and looked out the window. Ivy was in the yard, laughing as Malik pushed her on the swing. Her giggle danced through the air like music. She didn't know that in just a few days, We'd be sitting in front of a judge who would decide whether her name stays in the trust or disappears again. I walked outside and sat in the grass. She ran up to me, out of breath. "Mommy, I touched the sky." I smiled. "I believe you." She tilted her head. "Are you okay?" I paused. Then I said, "We have to go somewhere soon. Somewhere important. And I need you to be brave again." She nodded. "Okay, I can do that." I pulled her close. "You already have." The next morning, we packed our things. Dressed in quiet clothes. No cameras. No audience. Just us. We walked into the courtroom hand in hand. My father was already seated, stiff and cold. My mother wore sunglasses indoors like she couldn't stand to see anyone. Ivy sat between Malik and me. She squeezed my hand tight. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Then came the words I'll never forget. "Today, we will hear the final arguments regarding the family trust and the legal status of Ivy Holloway's inclusion." My heart thundered. This was it. We were about to learn if my daughter, my whole world, would be seen in the eyes of the law or pushed out one last time. The courtroom felt like a freezer. Everything was cold. The seats, the air, the people. But Ivy's hand in mine was warm, steady, brave. She swung her legs under the bench, not fully reaching the floor. Still just a little girl, but so much stronger than anyone in that room gave her credit for. The judge sat tall at the front. Kind eyes, but serious face. "We are here today to determine the rightful status of Ivy Holloway within the Holloway Family Trust." My father sat across the room, arms crossed. My mother sat beside him, lips tight. They hadn't looked at Ivy once, not once. Our lawyer, Daniel, stood, calm, focused. "Your Honor, this isn't just about money," he began. "This is about identity, about family, about a child who has been erased, not by accident, but by design." He placed the side-by-side photos on the screen, one with Ivy smiling, one without her. "The Holloways didn't forget her," he said. "They removed her. From pictures, from parties, from memories, and from the family trust." Ivy looked up at me. "That's me," she whispered, pointing to the photo where she wasn't erased. I nodded. "Yes, baby. That's you." Then my father's lawyer stood. Smooth voice. Too smooth. "The Holloways have always acted in what they believe to be the family's best interest. They never intended harm." Daniel stood again. "Intent doesn't erase impact. Ivy Holloway is a child. She deserves to belong. She does belong." The judge raised a hand. "I'd like to hear from the child." The courtroom shifted. Chairs creaked. My heart dropped. I leaned down. "You don't have to, Ivy. Only if you want to." She looked up at the judge. Then she nodded. They gave her a little step stool to stand at the front. Her voice was small, but every word rang out clear. "My name is Ivy," she said. "I'm 9. I like drawing animals and eating lemon cake. I used to think my family forgot me. But now I know they just didn't want me there." Silence. She took a breath. "But my mom never forgot me. And I don't want to be in their pictures if they don't want me. I just want my name to matter. I want to be seen." The judge blinked slowly, then said, "Thank you, Ivy. You may sit." She returned to her seat. I held her tight. The judge looked at the papers, the photos, then looked at my parents. "To erase a child from a family's story," she said, "is not just cruel. It's dangerous. Children are not mistakes. They are not public image problems. They are people, with hearts, names, and rights." My mother looked down. My father stayed stone-faced. "Therefore," the judge continued, "I rule that Ivy Holloway will remain in the trust. Her name will be legally recognized as a beneficiary, and any attempts to alter this status moving forward will be considered a violation of this court order." I closed my eyes. Tears slipped out, not from sadness, from relief. Ivy whispered, "Did I win?" I pulled her close. "No, baby." "We did." The judge turned to my parents. "Let this be a reminder. Love is not something you crop to fit a frame. It's something you make room for." Court adjourned. As we stood to leave, my father finally looked at me. Just for a second. No words, no apology, just emptiness. And I realized he hadn't lost his case. He'd lost his family. We walked out of that courthouse into the sunlight. Cameras flashed, but I didn't care, because Ivy was laughing again. Malik held her hand. and I held both of theirs. That night, we had dinner at home. Nothing fancy, just pizza and lemonade. Ivy drew a picture and taped it to the fridge. It was a family, me, her, Malik. And in her handwriting, it said, "We're in every picture now." Later, she asked, "Can we take a real photo? One where I don't have to be afraid I'll disappear?" I nodded. Of course. We set up the phone. Sat on the couch together. Ivy held her giraffe. Malik made a funny face. I laughed. And just before the timer clicked, Ivy whispered, "Smile like you mean it." Click. The flash went off. And that was it. The last family photo. The one no one could erase. Now that you've heard our story, have you ever felt like someone tried to erase you from your own life? Tell me in the comments. I'm listening because every story deserves to be seen. And every child deserves to be remembered forever.